Okay, everybody, welcome to the Moosecast from Northwestern Connecticut Community College. We are here with a whole host of people. We have Dr. Ruth Gonzalez as our special guest here today. And I am Andrew Wetmore, the Director of Student Activities here, and I have a host of other students and staff here. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Eric. I'm the Vice President of the Student Senate.
I'm Jackie. I'm the Treasurer of the Student Senate.
I'm Bree.
Senator.
Yeah.
I'm Isabella. I'm the Educational Assistant for Andrew in the Student Activities Office.
Woo! And Ruth, what is your job title? We've changed it like 5 times in the last 2 years here.
Yes, I am the Director of the Student and Community Life. So what I do is that I work with local resources in the community to ensure that students have resources both on campus and in the community. And then in between, I do a little bit of other things. Title IX, SART, care team. We also have the care closet. I do mental health counseling on campus and whatever else non-academic.
She's the glue that holds this place together. And she's been doing it for several years, and because of that, you've seen just about everything there possibly is to see. And that works out well for today's topic, which is conspiracies. Dun dun dun. So today we're gonna talk about our favorite conspiracies, ones we might believe in or not believe in, ones that other people definitely believe in. Whether it's ridiculous or plausible, we will weed through it and we're going to find out. So, we're going to start off. Who has their favorite one? Let's go. Let's start off. Eric, we know you have a bumper sticker on your car. Let's talk about that. Let's just start. Let's go right to it. Go ahead.
All right. So, the bumper sticker that's on my car is birds aren't real. And the whole conspiracy theory behind it is that the U.S. government replaced most birds with drones to spy on the citizens, and it goes pretty deep. You know how birds land on power lines all the time. Mm-hmm. That's how they recharge.
Okay.
So that's why they're never just dying. When winter comes around and they migrate down south, that's when they go to get updates.
Okay.
And they do this all to spy on the citizens. Well,
no, part of it. Now I'm going to play the plausible part of this. We do have wireless charging now, right? It's in our iPhones and Androids. We can wirelessly charge. I will point out that on Wikipedia, the birds aren't real. It starts off with it's a satirical conspiracy theory, which I feel like is a bit of an oxymoron. But Eric, do you know where did this start?
Honestly, I'm not sure where it started.
Let's see. Oh, it's a 2018 journalist Rachel Roberts described the birds aren't real as a joke that thousands of people are in on. What is the benefit? It's just it's population control or to keep an eye on it. It's spying on the American people.
Yeah, the government likes to spy on us, so they're using the birds to spy on us.
Well, now we put bird feeders right outside our windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pigeons, they're all over the cities. They can see what's going on everywhere in a city.
Well, that's one reason that the conspiracy theory that the reason they actually outlawed lead paint is not because it's poisonous, but because you couldn't X-ray and to see into people's houses when it was coated in lead paint. So the government couldn't see into your house because it was covered in lead.
Yeah.
So they banned lead paint.
Wow.
Interesting.
Also, it's poisonous.
Yeah, that too.
All right, so birds aren't real. That's a good one. What else, Jackie? What's your favorite thing?
Probably the moon landing was fake and the flat Earth conspiracy theories. Those two are really funny to me.
Ah, yes, the flat earthers.
Yeah.
My favorite is a post from the Flat Earth Society saying that they have followers all around the globe.
It's really funny.
Flat globe.
And that,
Wouldn't it be all around the cube?
yeah, right? I mean, that's just classic,
Yeah.
right? Talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, Eric and I were talking about this morning, but what we were saying is that everything that they've tried to do to prove that the Earth is flat has actually proved that it's round. So it's kind of funny when you think about that.
They spent like millions of dollars on some very high-tech piece of equipment. I don't know where they got the money for it, but they bought this piece of equipment to prove the Earth is flat, and it proved that it's round.
Well, now it depends on your definition of round. Okay, if you're talking a three-dimensional object as in a globe, okay, or now as flat earthers, it's not cube, it's a disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a disc is round, right, depending on your perspective, but then also flat.
Yep.
Okay, so it's
How would
round.
that work? You know?
Yeah.
It's like Asgard.
Yeah.
I feel like
was
Marvel's
thinking,
not
like,
the best defense you could use here.
Don't they think that there's pretty much just like a giant ice sheet around like the end of the world that stops you from going over? Like, say you were in a boat from just dropping off? Because I've heard that before.
Well, it can't go around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do you go? Yeah.
even if it's a disc shape, if you get to an edge, it's going to go to a 90 degree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of how that has to work.
Yeah, kind of.
I think their argument is that there's like an ice wall around the
Yeah.
planet to stop people from going off.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard of this ice wall before.
Wouldn't it be terribly cold?
And what
All
is
the
this? What is it,
time.
like Game of Thrones?
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's-
picturing.
yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh man. Right. Well, it was Pythagoras, right, who first determined that the Earth was round. Right. And
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
several other people by using obelisks and trying to
Right.
determine, okay, if it's this long at this point on the Earth at this time, and then I go here and it's only this big, well then therefore there has to be a curvature of the world.
Yeah.
So that was long before satellites, modern technology, and they were able to figure it out. All right, we're going to leave that one right there. All right, let's go to the other side of the table. Dr. Gonzalez, I know you have some very interesting things that always make me think. What is your favorite conspiracy?
My favorite is, the different alien races.
Now we're talking.
The Anunnakis and the reptilians and all the different, the Vulcans. And it makes you wonder.
Well, I mean, what was the satellite that just launched? The telescope that we just launched not long ago.
James Webb.
The James Webb, thank you.
Webb.
You look at some of the images that are coming back and the vastness of the number of, not just the number of solar systems, and we're so small, and then you look at the galaxies.
Yeah.
You look at the size of the Milky Way galaxy that we don't even know everything that's in the Milky Way, and then there's galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies.
Right.
It is, I think, not even a conspiracy. I think it's incredibly plausible, if not, you're almost ignorant to think that there's not some sort of life in this vastness somewhere. We're just, in our lifetime, we're never going to probably see it, or have we already?
Yeah.
No, but
You never know.
That's the next one. But no, you're right. I mean, that's do they walk among us? Was Men in Black actually a documentary?
Well, I
Maybe.
know in 2020, NASA confirmed that there is life outside of Earth
Yeah.
and outside of our galaxy.
Yeah, they
It-
did.
The
Finally released the report that
Yeah.
that's
Right, that was
actually
crazy.
true.
Well, I don't know, because now we have the government disinformation bureau, so maybe they're trying to put that back in the box.
I think they were worried about what Jeff was going to find on his rocket.
Oh, we were trying to return him home.
And you never know. I mean, I like to listen to Rudolf Steiner, who was an an occultist, but not in the way that we think of occult. He explains the way that life became.
Yeah.
and the way life, develop in terms of the spiritual realm from that occult perspective, but not like black magic, only the things that we can see, which is, again, the spirit realm, and how it was that we became and we exist. And he talks about the development of the universe and the different planets and the evolution of, Saturn and the sun and the moon and Earth, and how it all happened, and how man was created. And he talks about the development of plants and animals, and how all that through the development, some stayed as plants, other beings stayed as animal, and then humans became human through that process of evolution. So if in looking at it from that perspective, from the spiritual realm, it's very plausible that there were other beings that existed or didn't develop in the way that we develop. And he talks about the archangels or the fire spirits. He talks about angels. He talks, and the different stages of evolution. So why not? Some people feel it was a big bang and then everything just fell in place.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not too sure that that's how it happened.
Right.
I leaned more towards the Steiner's explanation of, the spirit and the spirit realm, and how it was that humans and animals and plant life became. Because we're all living things, beings. I mean, plants are living. Plants know exactly what to do. You plant a perennial and it comes back every year. How? How does it know?
Well, and plants communicate, which is a fascinating science that we're learning more and more about now.
Exactly.
How they're constantly communicating and almost at war at times.
Yeah.
So I recently learned not to plant my potato plants too close to my tomatoes, because the plants literally try to kill each other, which is fascinating. And there's a lot that is just unexplainable, and that's where you get, the pyramids, Easter Island, Stonehenge.
Exactly.
Stonehenge I think is slightly more plausible of human construction, but how did these?
And the Atlanteans and the Lemurians and all these civilizations that came before us, and we have their DNA.
And then they disappear.
And they did disappear.
Sometimes without a trace.
So I like the occult and, explanation of how it is that we came to being.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Izzy, what do you got? What's one that you look to and go, maybe?
Well, I actually have two that are kind of like really interesting, I think, at least, because I obviously love history. So two of mine have to do with like presidential assassination. So Lincoln and his assassination at Ford Theater, because it was such an interesting like plot. I did have a book that was completely based on the first woman who was executed by the federal government, and it was her son, and their three friends that plotted to murder a bunch of cabinet members, as well as Lincoln himself, like his Secretary of War, Seward. It was really kind of fascinating how they came up with this plot, even though they were pretty much nobodies who just lived in D.C. Above a restaurant, and they came up with this whole plot to murder the president. And the woman, her son, ended up becoming a bodyguard for the Pope after the whole conspiracy, because he fled to Italy. And then he was pardoned by the federal government for plotting to assassinate the president, which is not something that you often find people get pardoned for. It's really fascinating, because there's a lot of books specifically on John Wilkes Booth as well, who was the one who shot Lincoln, and he had been
supposedly.
He definitely did it, but the conspiracy part was he sent and paid for basically by the government? Was it former, Confederates, or was it like Union government members who just didn't like Lincoln and didn't believe in his post-Civil War Reconstruction plans? And how do you stop it? You get rid of them. So it's really interesting to kind of evaluate what the truth to the situation was, and like, is there something beyond what we know about it? And it's the same thing with Kennedy, because there's a lot of conspiracies about LBJ.
Yeah.
Lyndon B. Johnson, or not Lyndon B. Johnson. Well, yes, actually, Lyndon B. Johnson, who they think maybe hired Harry Oswald to shoot Kennedy in Texas.
Yeah.
Was there a second shooter on the grassy knoll?
They don't
Yeah.
know. It's really interesting because they said that the angles that he was at couldn't have possibly got Kennedy, but then you would have had to be in a very experienced shot to be that high up
Yeah.
and actually hit him dead in the forehead, basically. So
Right.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
So mine that I found this morning, which I never thought about, involves the movie Frozen, the Disney
Really?
classic.
okay.
So as some of
I
you
don't know
know,
about classic.
well, it is if you ask my kids.
Yeah.
So as you know, Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
very controversial at the time. I think it still very much is, because it's
Yeah.
incredibly unproven.
Right.
And that Disney executives were embarrassed by this. And with Google, now if you're going to try to find out, okay, well, is Walt Disney really frozen? And you don't want this to be out there and be on the front page of every Google search. What do? You name a movie Frozen. So in order to
interesting.
screw with Google's algorithms, it's if you type in Disney's Frozen now, what are you going to come up with?
movie.
The movie,
movie.
not that Walt Disney is in a freezer in someone's basement right now.
Well, they say he's cryogenically frozen under Disney World in Florida,
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah. It does.
which they just lost their tax status. So maybe when Disney leaves, they're going to pull up the ground and
Oh,
pull him out.
jeez. Well, that could go right into the next one, which is zombies. There's been a lot of movies. Zombies, is it plausible?
It is plausible because
Yeah.
in Haiti, people can be turned into zombie using black magic.
Yeah.
So
All right. See that now. See, this is where it gets real.
The rainbow
Because
and the serpent.
There was definitive answer on this. Not the I have heard. No, in Haiti,
Yeah.
they turn people into zombies. Oh my gosh. And but this goes back to ancient Greece. This has been a fear
yeah.
of humans. The reanimation of corpses goes way back. So, but hold on, Jackie. I'm sorry.
better.
We got to hear more.
Yeah.
Please
no,
continue that,
definitely.
because I was.
Definitely.
in terms of what is practiced in Haiti, which is voodoo,
Yeah.
they're not corpse. They are living people that
Right.
are, exposed to different spells, and they use plant and obviously call upon the dark powers because they do exist. And they cast a spell on a living person, and they are turned into zombies because they're in this perpetual trance.
Wow. That's really cool.
So, yep, it is voodoo.
Wow.
Well, it's kind of it's
Interesting.
similar to hypnosis.
Yeah.
Right. Only it's done with evil intent and with the use of dark powers, evil spirits.
That's actually a practice in Puerto Rico as well.
Yes.
My friend's boyfriend is
Yeah.
Puerto Rican, and his mom is devoutly religious in traditional Puerto Rican.
Santeria.
Yes. And he talks about it all the time, and he says, there are people who will place spells on other people, and it'll try to take over their bodies. It's some crazy stuff.
Yes.
And
Wow.
it actually happened in his house maybe a week and a half ago to his grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild, and it's not something where you'd think, oh, that's definitely. A lot of people think that that's crazy and that it doesn't exist, and it definitely definitely
It
does,
does.
especially when
That's
people are deeply
interesting.
rooted and connected to that part of their
Yes.
culture.
Definitely.
And
Well, it's
these
like-
were practices that were brought from Africa when the
Yeah.
slave trade, because the islands, the Dominican Republic, the Caribbean islands, Haiti, which is one island, the Dominican Republic and Haiti is one island,
Yeah.
divided. So the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, Puerto Rico, they had a lot of Africans come in when
Yeah.
Columbus came. So these practices have been around for thousands of years.
Right.
And, the same way people believe that Jesus exists or God, pure spirits, that's the same way
Yeah.
we have dark spirits and they can be called upon.
Yeah.
And people do that.
Oh, wow.
So I think
Well, it's
there's
just-
that kind of zombification, but I don't know about anybody else, but I Am Legend, like, definitely opened my eyes to the idea of, like, diseased zombification.
Yeah.
You've
Yes.
never seen that movie?
Oh, no, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty sure that's what COVID was going.
Yes,
That
I
was the
saw a lot of
direction.
memes about that.
That's funny. I've even heard of so have you ever heard of the deer zombie thing before?
Yes.
With the
Yeah.
brain eating disease that they got and then they turned into zombies.
Well, Mad Cow.
Yeah, Mad Cow, that
was-
too.
I think that's where that almost kind of originated
Yeah,
from,
exactly.
which is actually very real
yeah, it is.
and very bad.
Right.
Yeah. Well, going back to zombies and voodoo, hypnosis
Yeah.
is something I'll never have you guys bring a hypnotist here. And the reason is when I was in college at Western Connecticut State University, calling them out, they had as part of our welcome week, they had a hypnotist come, and they had students up on stage and hypnotized several people. Some of them didn't take, and one of them unknowingly came out of the closet
Oh, wow.
in front of everybody. And yeah, I was like, I can't ever do that to somebody.
Wow,
No,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
It definitely was not the person's intent,
Right.
but it just
just happened. Right.
And
Wow.
yeah, so these things are very powerful and can really impact people in many different ways.
Well, the
yes.
Serpent
That's
and the
it.
Rainbow
Here we go.
is a 1988 movie about an anthropologist who experienced such a experience
Yeah.
with the zombies. And it was a great movie, and you should watch it. And it is based in Haiti, and it talks about voodoo is and are used, again, drugs that are plant-based. So all kinds of plants and sacrifices, blood and
Yeah.
serpents and venom. Because if you extract the venom of certain serpents, it will kind of paralyze
Yeah,
the
exactly.
central nervous system, but you still be kind of aware-ish.
That sounds awful.
So
So awful.
The Serpent and the Rainbow is a very good movie.
Oh man.
That's interesting.
All right, we got zombies, we got fake birds, we got dead frozen people. What else we got?
We have different types of beings.
The Titanic
Oh, yeah.
never actually sunk. It was its sister ship, right?
Yep.
That was sunk for insurance.
Yeah, I've
They
heard that before.
They removed the name Olympia and painted Titanic over it, and sunk that ship so that they could get the insurance policy from the Titanic rather than the Olympia, because they were going to be retiring it.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah,
Ooh,
interesting.
that's a good one. Let's see, what else?
What about like reptile people?
Yeah.
the lizard people.
Oh, yeah, I've
Lizard
heard
people, yes. Go on. Tell us
Yeah.
more.
So I don't know like that much about it, but like it makes sense. It checks out given that. I mean, like big named people are sketchy.
Yeah.
Have
no,
you
I
seen
know
Mark
what you mean.
Zuckerberg?
He has got to be the most compelling case for the lizard people.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
when he testified before Congress, I mean, I don't know what he was on. I mean, I don't think you could take enough Xanax to look like that.
Yeah.
I mean, his eyes were bugging out of his head, but were somehow completely black. Like, I was waiting for his tongue to come slip up, like, the side of his head. It was, that was bizarre. But yeah, the lizard
is
people.
bizarre.
Yep.
The lizard people.
I think there's definitely a possibility, but I also kind of think that evolutionarily you get a lot of people who will adapt to their environment. So there was this whole rumor. I used to go down to the city a lot, and we would take the train in. We would be on Grand Central and pull into the station, and it's really dark in those tunnels. And I forget what they're called. I think they're called the mole people, and they're
Yes.
rumored to live in the tunnels of Grand Central, and they're super pale, and they grow like a lot of hair to like keep them warm. But yeah, they live down there, and like they'll occasionally come up for like the garbage scraps and then go back down in Grand Central.
Well, have
which
you
is
ever
like scary.
seen a New York City subway rat? They're the size of beavers. I mean, really,
I
is
mean,
it
they're
really that,
huge.
They're
They're
scary.
big.
yeah. I mean, how many times has The Simpsons predicted things?
A lot.
You know? I mean, and then they literally have a character, Hans Moleman.
There's a whole documentary
to
that
their
I
list.
watched about the mole people, and it is kind of frightening. They look really scary because they catch them on like security cameras. They'll go down and like they'll go do work in the tunnels, and they set up like night vision cameras to like catch these people on
That's
camera, and they
interesting.
have like kids and everything, and I'm like, in the dark.
Wow.
freaky.
That's really freaky.
Well, I mean, the New York's subway system is a city.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
definitely.
It's a city,
Yeah.
and those tunnels, they have rooms and
Oh, yeah.
electrical rooms and all kinds of
stuff.
rooms. So
Yeah.
it's very plausible that all kinds of people live.
Live
Oh
down
yeah.
there.
I know they've said like
underground.
specifically for the subway system, because this was part of that documentary, which you can find on YouTube. In the
God bless
documentary,
YouTube.
right off the internet. I know they said specifically in one of the episodes that they don't go to the subway tunnels because the subways move too fast and the tunnels are really narrow. So the odds of you getting killed are a lot higher in the subway, because when they pull into Grand Central on like Metro North or Amtrak, the trains slow down a lot to pull into Grand Central because they've had like accidents and issues with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it'll send the electrical like haywire. But that's why they live mostly in Grand Central, because it's
Wow.
underground and because it's, a lot safer, I guess.
Are they vampires?
What do you mean? Like, do they suck people's blood? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Well, I mean, just like traditional vampires, like they don't come out at night, they're pale.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters day or night. It's always dark
Well, that's
in
why-
the
You
well,
don't
that's
get
what
a
I mean,
lot
that's
of
why-
light in the tunnel.
But that's why they live down there. I mean,
Right.
it's,
I imagine. Yeah, they're very pale. They're like gray.
so one of the related conspiracies is that Prince Charles is a vampire.
I believe it. He's
Yeah.
kind of been alive a long time. That whole royal family has been.
Well, the concept is that the Prince of Wales, right, Prince Charles, is related to Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that he has an iron deficiency, so he's very sensitive to sunlight. It's also why you don't see him out much.
Yeah.
Also, England, perfect place for it, kind of like Transylvania, you never see the sun.
Right.
All right, that's my ancestor. That's why I look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. All right. And, so Prince Charles may or may not be a vampire. And that may or may not have been why Princess Diana was killed, because she was going to expose all of the secrets of the royal family,
That they were reptilians.
that they were reptilian vampires.
Interesting. Very
That is
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that one.
And there's a lot of conspiracies around Princess Diana's unfortunate demise.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, there is.
But there's definitely some stuff with the royal family that I feel like it's just because there's so much secrecy
yeah.
that I feel like it's just prime for the rumor mill. I mean, good. I mean, how many tabloids have made a living off of just making stuff up?
Yeah.
Right.
But then again, if you're a Men in Black film fan, those are the best source of accurate information. So
That's true.
it could be.
Yeah.
What else do we got? What else do people just wake up and shake your head at? What's the most outrageous one?
Oh, there's a lot of
There's so
outrageous
many, yeah.
ones.
There's a lot of those.
Oh, what about the underground network of Satanists,
Interesting.
devil
plausible.
worshippers?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are openly devil worshippers,
Yeah.
though, so I don't feel
Right.
like that's a conspiracy theory.
Well, so this has to be true because this was a special from Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah.
He did an NBC special, Devil Worship, exposing Satan's underground. And of course, this is 1988.
Yeah.
That checks out. I can't even with that.
That's interesting.
See,
That kind of. Oh, sorry, Izzy.
no, it's okay. And I think it had to be 2015. In Oklahoma, they wanted to put in one of their cities a statue dedicated to Satan. And they said that it was, part of public property and that it technically wasn't a religion because the devil is like a secular idea.
Okay.
So they said that they should be able to spend taxpayer dollars. This group
Yeah.
was advocating for spending taxpayer dollars on a statue dedicated to the devil.
This came up recently, not long ago, in the town of Bethel, Connecticut, a few years ago, where they used to put up a manger as part of a Christmas display in a town square.
Yeah.
And then a synagogue wanted to put up a menorah, and they allowed them to do that. That wasn't a problem. But then everyone decided to take it a little too far, and they wanted to do a display on the flying spaghetti monster. And it really went downhill fast. But it opened a lot of interesting questions. In fact, actually, the Supreme Court just unanimously supported a Christian organization in Boston because they did not allow them to fly a particular Christian flag, which I don't know what that would even be, but and they allowed other religious organizations to do that. So the Supreme
Interesting.
Court actually just ruled that no, they violated their First Amendment rights.
Well,
Yeah, I saw that.
Interesting.
Which is
there is
very-
the Church
yeah.
of Satan, which was founded in 1966 in San Francisco and headquarters in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah.
Now, I was
Of
under
course, it's New York and California.
I was under the impression that the Republican Party was not founded there. I mean, yeah, I mean, no, I mean, there is, well, I mean, how many people now list Jedi as their religion on the U.S. Census?
That's a
Really?
thing?
That's a thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of people do
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, and then of course, you have places like shows like Family Guy with
Yeah.
the Church of the Fonz.
Yeah,
There's a religion for just about
Yeah,
everything.
there is. It's really interesting. So do you guys have heard of the Son of Sam before? He was a
Yeah.
murderer
Well,
in
of
New York
course,
City
yep.
in the
Son of
1970s.
Sam.
Did you ever see the Netflix documentary series that came out on that? I think it came out a couple years ago. But they basically talked about how there's this theory that David Berkowitz, he was the one who was convicted of committing the murders, that he wasn't the only one involved, and that there was actually a whole network of people, and they think that it had to do with Satanism. It was really interesting.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that was kind of like the Manson family.
Yeah,
Right? I mean,
yeah.
the same concept.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Now, Ruth, the son of Sam. Tell us about that.
1976.
And what were you doing?
What was I doing? I was.
Where were you?
Well, I lived in New York at the time, and my sister, my eldest sister, who had heart surgery in 1975, after her recovery, she decided to go the alternate route. And we used to travel upstate to see an alternate doctor. So he did acupuncture and all kinds of natural remedies. And actually, we were on the train platform.
Yeah.
And so was the Son of Sam.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Wow.
Wow. That's crazy.
And we didn't know until the news. So, yeah, it was kind of weird.
I just got goosebumps. That
That
I
is
didn't even
crazy.
know that
Yeah.
story. Ruth just used to talk about her escapades of a child just wandering the city alone during the
Yeah.
time of the summer of Sam, and no one cared.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I didn't know
That's
that.
crazy.
And yeah, I mean, I used to just take the train and go and do whatever, and that was the city.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
We were actually waiting for the train at the same time that he was there too.
Wow. That is like the ultimate
Jesus.
life ideal of
Yeah.
not living in fear.
Right.
I don't know.
Right?
That's
I
scary.
would never leave my house if I knew that was happening.
Right.
Well, you never know who walks amongst you.
You don't.
Oh no.
No.
You really don't.
No, not at all.
You don't know what any person is really capable of,
No.
and that's the kind of the right living oblivious, just
And especially in the city where there are so many people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, there is.
Just never know.
So speaking of never knowing, is the moon real? There's a theory out there that the moon
That the
does
moon-
not exist. It's merely a projection.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I think
I
that
think
makes no
it's,
sense.
no, I
Because
don't
I
think
think
it
there's
makes sense.
I think there's a scientific
Yeah.
reasoning that there
Yeah,
has
there
to be
is.
the moon because it's what moves the ocean.
Yeah,
That's why
it
we have
controls the
waves.
tides.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
How
what
can
else
you
would?
put-
It's gravitational
how can you
pull
prove
on
it?
Earth.
How can you prove it? Why isn't it just simply how it spins that moves the water back and forth?
Because water can't just move.
Yeah, water can't just move, and it moves differently
By
at different
itself.
times
The
of
Earth
the
is
Because of
spinning,
day.
though.
gravity.
Yeah, gravitational pull just from the sun, though.
I don't think it pulls
No.
hard enough from how far we are.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm just shooting the what here.
Yeah.
Because the further away that you get from the sun, the less the gravitational pull, which is why you
Right.
have planets that will start to just pull away
Yeah.
and like rejoin the solar system that's not a part of our
Yeah.
systematic movement.
Yeah, I feel like
Like
it's been
Pluto.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's been documented. I mean, tide charts are pretty accurate these
Oh,
days.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, how long has it been documented of it floating around out there?
Right. And
Yeah, the moon is a projection.
Yeah, and the moon
I'm
is
like, but what are you
moving.
projecting it on? It's not like Batman.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
There's no background out
there's no
there.
backdrop.
No.
You're telling me there's not a backdrop up there?
No
No.
way.
Oh,
No.
man,
Maybe
the
it-
stars aren't just holes in it.
Maybe it's like that that
Never
movie
know.
with Jim Carrey where he was like living in a TV show.
Oh, there
Oh,
we go.
yeah.
Truman
Our-
Show.
The Truman
The
Show.
Truman Show.
yeah.
Yep.
Good
Are we
movie.
are we living in the Matrix?
Uh-huh.
This
The
is all a
Truman Show.
simulation.
I can see
The
argument
Matrix.
for this being a simulation.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one.
So very recently, I feel like I've been noticing things, and it's starting to freak me out. Like I saw 2 silver PT Cruisers driving one right behind the other one on Route 8,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, what are the odds there's 2 silver PT Cruisers in existence
Yeah.
still?
Yeah.
Let alone drive. I'm like, there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've noticed something that basically, if you ever go to like a grocery store or anything like that, there's never just one person in line. It's always 2 or 3 people, but then there will be like a few minutes where nobody comes up at all. And I even noticed that with like roads. Eric's Road, for example, is a dead end street, so it's relatively untraveled. But it's never just one car that comes up the road. It'll be like 2 or 3 cars in a row and then no cars for 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah. Things
So
happen
it's like
in bunches.
things happen. Yeah, exactly. Things just happen together.
Recently here, our head of IT, Mr. Rick Coutant, wonderful gentleman, he was walking. I saw him. He walked past me, and then somehow he popped up on like the other side of the building in an amount of time that I didn't feel like it was possible, and it really freaked me out. And I called him out on it, and he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Oh my God.
And I've been thinking about that for months.
That's really funny.
It's just like it's.
Quantum physics.
And you
I'm
wonder,
telling
like,
you, there's
is
a time
deja
loop.
vu the thing that we get when we feel like, oh, I've definitely lived this before?
Yeah.
I believe in deja vu because I,
I
feel
have
like
a
me
I
too.
terrible,
Me too.
I feel
terrible
like it happens
deja
to me
vu.
all the time, and it's about
Yeah.
stupid things,
Right.
like weird stuff where like I'll have an image of like my desk, but then all of a sudden like 20 years later, like here it is, like this is my office now.
Yeah.
And like I was like I've had this vision before, and
Yeah.
that's really freaky.
There was
Definitely.
somewhere I went with my friends, and I'd never been there before, didn't recognize the name, didn't recognize the address, but then we sat down, and I was like, I have been here, and I have lived this moment before, and I
Yeah.
don't know how that's even possible.
I kind of like
Same.
wonder if it has anything to do with dreams, because sometimes you dream about something
Yes.
and then you like it happens to you or you
Mhm.
experience it, and it kind of feels similar because you've like dreamt about it before.
Yes.
Oh, and you know what the weird thing is too is there's like a huge kind of conspiracy about like media and how we're fed things that we already kind of subliminally know.
Yeah.
And so Marvel is kind of doing this whole thing with
WandaVision?
the new not with WandaVision, but kind of. So because she created this simulation in the show,
Yeah.
and that's what it's mainly about. But I was just watching Loki last night because I'm going to go see the new Doctor Strange later, and they're talking about this multiverse and how when things don't go right, it splits off, but then we try to retract, and it becomes again a part of things how they're supposed to be.
This is the
Like
premise of Back to the Future, right?
Right, you follow like this main timeline, and you're not supposed to screw with the main timeline. And it's really interesting because it's like if we've thought that we've lived something before, but we don't recall dreams, we don't remember things like that, but then we get those hitches of deja vu, and it's like, oh, there goes the glitch. It's kind of weird. Are we not supposed to know about that kind of stuff? Are we like instinctually tuned into those kinds of things? Like, it makes you think.
Definitely.
And it
It's
almost has the
interesting.
ability to drive you absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. Well, we really went down the rabbit hole on that one. Oh my goodness. What else do we have? I mean, we didn't even get into the Illuminati.
No. Wow.
There's the Illuminati,
big
and
one.
We could do
there's
a
the
whole episode just on
chemtrails.
there.
And
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird that you just said that. See?
Oh
We're in the Matrix
my
because I
God.
had that up on my phone.
Crazy.
See?
That's
This is it.
nuts.
So this one is that the government is poisoning us with chemtrails. It's caused. I can't even. I'm not even going down this. But they're secretly spraying us with chemicals. I don't know why,
Interesting.
but
Because we're an experiment.
well, we already
Yeah.
knew that. Are we not even going to get into the COVID vaccine? There's just too much out there with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, I think anything can be turned into a conspiracy theory if you really start looking at it enough and you just keep asking why enough times.
Yeah.
That eventually you circle back to something that's so outrageous, but then you're like, could be true.
Could be true.
But
right.
then you like it kind of makes you think to yourself, do we write people off as crazy because we don't want to believe it because it disrupts our idea of
Yes.
reality? Like
Yes.
it's this whole kind of crazy question.
No, that's definitely true. There's just so much that we don't know, and I think that we really like to fill in the gaps about things to make it make sense to us, but it's not always the right answer. Just because it makes sense to you doesn't necessarily mean it's like right.
It's our way to explain the unexplainable. Because
Exactly.
You have, Greeks and Romans since the beginning of time tried to say like, oh, religion is, how we explain things, and like
Right.
the gods do things for us. And then as you advance technologically, like we come up with scientific reasons. And it's like, oh, so we just believe that people somehow quantify these things. And
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
What was a conspiracy theory that someone can think of that actually turned out to be true? Don't say Trump won the 2020 election. Let's not go there. We're not going down that one. Can anyone think of one? I feel like aliens was probably one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
aliens.
Definitely.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think
Conspiracy.
aliens turned out to be true yet. It's
Well,
it's ignorant
I
to
have-
think that we're alone.
I have
but
3 names for you: Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg.
3 of the richest guys on the planet.
Yep. I don't know. Can we think? I really don't think I can come up with one.
yeah, I can't think of anything.
Let's see. I'm gonna Google conspiracy theories that are true. The lizard people. Have we come up with the lizard people yet? Is that one true?
I think so.
Probably.
Let's see here. This is from Mental Floss, so you know it has to be true. I actually put a great deal of trust in the good folks at Mental Floss. It wasn't a weather balloon that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. All right, well, we knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just, yeah. Let's see. American scientists militarized the weather. We knew that. That was a conspiracy, but that turned out to be true. We did try doing cloud seeding and manipulating the environment to do that. Let's see. The government hasn't been investigating UFOs for years. Yeah, that was a conspiracy. Everyone's like, oh, they're not wasting our taxpayer money on that.
Oh, they are.
Oh, they definitely are.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh, they 100, they were.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Magnetic material and money can be used to determine the number of bills a person is carrying. I have not heard of this.
No, me neither.
Apparently, there was.
Frightening.
Apparently, this came up in the X-Files. And it turns out it might actually be true.
Yeah. Me neither.
Well, even when you think about it, there was at one time like this premise that if the government would never spy on us.
Right.
That's something that we accept in our everyday lives, but 30, 40 years ago, that was something that people believed the government didn't do. Like,
Right.
they
Yeah.
didn't tap into
Exactly.
your phones. They didn't read your emails or your whatever. And they do.
Yeah,
And that all
definitely.
came out because of the Patriot Act. And when you hit I agree on anything, they have all the access to your information. And it's so funny because I'll talk to people and they're like, well, I don't want the government knowing my stuff and knowing my business.
Yeah,
I was like, they know everything about you from cradle to grave. Like, there's nothing they don't know about you.
Now I
Right.
talked to the Google lady.
Yeah.
She's listening anyway.
Yeah.
That's
a big one.
Oh my
Alexa,
god!
yeah.
And I said to my friend one time, I said, because he's got an Alexa, I refuse to get one because I'm like, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
But he has an Alexa and he talks to it, and I'm like, do you think she's not listening all the time? Because she's got to listen for her name. It's
didn't they
not
come
like
out
they're
and admit-
absorbing it.
Didn't they come out and admit that, yeah, they're listening?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did say that event. And we all joked about it. And then
They're
it was true.
listening. Because
Right.
sometimes she says, I don't understand. I'm like, I was not talking.
I
Yeah.
wasn't talking to you.
That
You don't get that
happens to me
information.
too.
Yeah.
I know.
Siri will just like pop open and
Right.
she'll be like, oh, I can hear you too.
Just say something, yeah. It's a little freaky.
It's very freaky.
Let's see here. The last one is that the government poisoned alcohol during Prohibition.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one.
That did that.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well,
They've done some shady stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've poisoned people. We've frozen them. We have had fake
Zombies.
birds, zombies.
Flat Earth.
We
We're
fell
not gonna be able to
short
publish
of the Loch Ness Monster, and if we all disappear tomorrow, we'll know why.
Yeah, they'll be landing the helicopters on the roof of the building.
I knew it. Oh, we laugh, but all right. Any last words from anybody? We've been thoroughly freaked out enough.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
All right. Well, we're all going to go about our oblivious lives here at Northwestern, and we hope you enjoy this episode of the Moosecast. Thank you.